Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Everything Socceroos podcast. My name is Hudson Knox, a rising journalism student in sports media, and my guest today is Jaden Blake, an upcoming football expert journalist. Jaden, how are you today, mate?
I'm good. Glad to be on here.
Of course. Now, Jaden, we're going to go through a few things today. Obviously, the football season here in Australia and across most leagues in the world has wrapped up for another year. For the audience and for the viewers listening in today, we're going to be asking Jaden some questions on the recent A-League. He's got some real knowledge around the players in the league and about how they can jump into Socceroos contention. Jaden is also involved with a couple A-League club media pages that he regularly updates. So we will talk about that and have a discussion around questions that I'll ask him. And then we'll go into depth with some young players who could be up for Socceroos contention coming up before the end of the year. And then, these guys are probably, the next big thing for the Socceroos to give you, that sort of an idea of what we're going to be talking about. And then, and then we'll recap with where we think the Socceroos, the Australian national soccer team, are going on its journey to the 2026 World Cup with our call to action. Anyways, Jaden, we'll get into things. I'm going to ask you some questions, mate. You nervous?
A bit.
Well, look, we'll work it together, but it'll be fine. But yes. Anyways, I'll ask the first question for you now. What A-League club media pages are you involved with? How'd you get into the idea of both?
Yeah, I'm involved in a couple. There's a main one right now, Auckland FC Hub.
That's the new A-League team.
A-League expansion team. I don't know, I was just bored one day, started it, and it's been doing really well. And then the second one is Adelaide United fans.
Oh yeah, Adelaide United?
Yep, Adelaide United.
Lovely.
I got the idea of that, again, it was just one day, started it, and recently got back into posting on that.
Oh, killer. How, obviously, is it the Auckland one that's doing more successfully?
Yeah.
How many followers you got?
We recently hit 700.
Oh, yeah. Oh, killer. Well, close to 1K?
Hopefully we can hit that. My goal is to hit 1,000 before the A-League season starts in October.
Yeah, well, that'll be good. It'll be interesting with Auckland coming in because, new team, new players, it'll be exciting to see. What type of content do you regularly post on those pages? How many interactions do you get?
Well, as it's the off season, we're focused on transfer news right now, but we cover everything to do with the clubs really. And interactions are pretty good. We're probably averaging around 80 likes a post on Auckland, and then my highest is I'd say around over 400.
Oh yeah, killer. And I mean, that's pretty good. You've obviously got to start somewhere, and doing this gives you a bit of experience at following an A-League club, and getting into the bits of that. How did the journey start getting into this? Have you interacted or interviewed any players from Adelaide United or Auckland that are upcoming?
Haven't really interviewed, but I've interacted with a few of them. Mainly the younger ones, such as Luka Ivanovic, Johnny Yule.
Oh yeah, is Luka? What was the discussion with Luka?
We just talked about how the A-League All-Stars, he wanted to be selected for that.
Absolutely.
Talked about some A-League games that have been going on recently.
Yeah.
And his selection for the Socceroos, he would like to be selected for the Socceroos.
Yeah.
And he's currently playing with the young Socceroos. Again, he played the other night against Uruguay.
That's right, yep. It's funny with the A-League All-Stars, that coming up again. Obviously, that's also just wrapped up with the team where a bunch of A-League stars, get selected into one team, and then they play, a world giant. The one with Newcastle, which had a lot of the youth academy players, but the A-League All-Stars got up, and it was unfortunate for Luka to not get picked up, but I'm sure he's coming, and he'll no doubt be in the Socceroos frame hopefully next season or more in the youth levels. So do you think social media and that online presence is important for football to succeed not only in the world but for Australia, so that we can get more talent for the Socceroos?
I think the main goal should be changing the perception of the league right now, because it's not, especially among the football fans in Australia. It's not a very accepted league.
No.
So if we can improve the reach of the league on social media, then we can get more young players into the A-League and
get more fans that are not.
Get more fans and get more people into football, and that could lead to greater success for the A-League and the Socceroos.
Get, Australian fans who, might support like a European team, get them supporting the local clubs, which is, the real difference, I think. There's a lot of people that would sooner rather just follow the Premier League or the La Liga overseas, when games are in the middle of the night. But, they can see the talent here coming up and go and support your local A-League team. That's It's frustrating, really.
Yeah. I think that a World Cup here would massively improve that.
Absolutely, yeah.
We saw that with the Women's World Cup and how much following the Matildas have been getting recently, which is great. But not many of these people have really come out to support their local A-League and A-League women's teams. Yeah,
absolutely. This is a general question, but with the talk of the Socceroos, obviously, doing well with the 2022 World Cup. And I won't deny the success of the Matildas, last year, for fans. But, there's a real sense of urge that the government needs to splash on a football centre or a home of football for the Socceroos. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I did see lots of people calling for that, especially when Anthony Albanese was seen at the A-League semi-final, Central Coast versus Sydney FC.
We know, obviously, the Socceroos coach Graham Arnold has spoken about it before, that the government needs to pour money into a centre home of football, but they're just not really getting anywhere.
Yeah, and we even have a home of the Matildas in Melbourne. We don't have a home of the Socceroos. They don't really have a base. They're just everywhere.
It's disappointing. And that's the next thing, I think, that will help with the amount of players that are coming through, and we can get better players, better talent. Into that Socceroos contention, but well, this question is an interesting one, because we'll be talking about players up for Socceroos contention, but as an Australia football media person like yourself, what players did you think did well in the A-League or across the world this season to warrant selection?
I think there's quite a few young talents who are being overlooked at the moment, such as I said before, Luka Ivanovic. He is more of a surprise selection that I could see happening over the next few years or so. One person who I was surprised wasn't picked for the upcoming Socceroos games, and the one that already happened, was Jacob Farrell.
Yes.
He's been playing well for Central Coast.
I thought you'd say him. He's sort of the one. I mean, he's got Jordan Boss and Bajic in front of him. He could really contest Bajic, I think, for that position.
Yeah, especially with him ageing.
Yeah, I feel like Bajic, he gets that selection most times though, because that squad still needs a bit of experience. But so I think you're right about Farrell. He had a very good season. Won the championship with the Mariners. Back to back too. Yeah. So I think no doubt. I think September, November, December we'll probably see him pretty soon in the Socceroos squad.
I reckon he'll see a European move before that as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Obviously, is it Auckland or Adelaide United you support?
I'll just say Adelaide United. As Auckland actually haven't even played a game yet.
Because you go to most Adelaide United games, don't you? Yeah. So as a fan that regularly attends games, how do you think the experience is like at Adelaide United? Do you think more fans will come to watch football next season after the success of some youngsters' seasons? We can mention Estrella and Kunda, who we'll talk about after, but is there what about some of the youngsters who might be preparing for the Socceroos team next season or coming up?
Yep. Well, I think it's a great experience. It's a lot better than most A-League clubs, just because it's a perfect size stadium, so the atmosphere is always great. It's the complete opposite of somewhere like Brisbane Roar or Suncorp. That I don't think that would be a good experience. But
too big of a stadium for fans to come in. And
I think, unfortunately, the crowd will drop off a little bit because we didn't
do too well this season.
Yeah, and along with that, we've seen big names leave like Joe Gauci and Nestor and Kunda.
Yeah.
So I think that will impact the crowds a bit, but I think the atmosphere will still remain quite good.
Yeah. Oh well, speaking of Joe Gauchi and Nestor Irankunda. What were your thoughts on the Socceroos game against Bangladesh? They both started at SA boys, as
Yeah.
your thoughts, and what are your thoughts on that? And then obviously the Palestine game on Tuesday night.
Well, there were actually 4 former Adelaide United players playing, which I thought was really nice, along with
Oh, who were the other 2?
Cassini Yangi.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And then
Can't remember.
no, we'll edit that out.
Oh, we'll work it out after. But yeah, what were your thoughts on the game?
Oh, I think it was quite poor, honestly. We did see
We got the job done. That's all that matters,
yeah,
really.
Yeah, it was poor conditions,
Pretty scrappy.
Yeah,
couldn't really watch it on TV either.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an interesting game. There's not really much to say on it. We dominated. The Socceroos dominated Bangladesh pretty much all game. I think they only had 1 shot.
Yeah.
And that was not a great one.
Just pretty scrappy to get the job done.
Irankunda technically got an assist, but it went down as an own goal. But it was good to see. And Gauchi wasn't really involved, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was good to see Nestri involved and get that long-awaited Socceroos debut. And then I know we'll talk about him more in a minute, but it's good for him to be locked down now. And glad he's got his debut. What are your thoughts on the Palestine game? Going in?
Well, I think this should be a lot better game than the Bangladesh game. It's at home in Perth. At HBF Park, should be a good atmosphere.
I think
should be able to pack out HBF Park for the boys, and then
I think we'll see there'll be a few changes. Yeah, like I feel like Arnie will. I feel like he should give a few players a go. Izzo is someone who did well in the A-League season, who is going into Socceroos contention. Is a part of the squad. He should probably get a go Tuesday night. You'd say. Probably want to see more of Sakati, as we'll talk about in a minute with him as well.
Yeah, and. Has he played a game for Socceroos yet? I don't think he has.
He's played one, but if he plays Tuesday night, then he'll be also locked down.
I think he will.
Well.
He's from Perth, so it'd be nice to give him a game in front of the Perth fans.
Yeah. Oh well, thank you for your answers, mate, and those are most of the questions. Obviously we'll. It's interesting. We'll talk about some of these players that are coming through the Socceroos. And there's 3 that sort of stand out, for me anyway. So I feel like, should change the Socceroos because we don't have that world class sort of player, yet that can change the Socceroos team, and we should be able to follow off the success of the 2022 World Cup because this country's it's going in a good direction where most of these players are coming through. It's the most played sport in Australia now, soccer. So, to see someone like Irankunda, already selected in this World Cup camp, with games against Bangladesh and Palestine, obviously played the Bangladesh game, so he's officially locked
Played
in.
quite well as well.
Yep. Obviously, it means he can't represent another country.
Eligible for both Tanzania and Burundi, so it's good to get him locked in.
Yeah, his season, honestly, in the end, was really good, And he sealed the move to Bayern, What do you think? You saw him firsthand at the Adelaide United games,
Yeah.
You see the crowd energy,
Yeah, he was absolutely electric this season. He ended the season with 8 goals and 6 assists, which is very good for a teenager still. And I hope he can turn around Bayern's current situation as well.
Yeah.
I hope he gets quite a few games under the new manager.
This is what we need. We need someone to play in a world class team. For someone like Nesta, it'll be an experience for him to settle in probably quickly. He might not get that sort of I don't know what the word is, but you'd like to see him start for Bayern, absolutely, in years to come.
But hopefully he goes in a different direction of style pretty soon.
Yep, absolutely. All the best to him. But
he could be coming back to Auckland soon.
And this clip that we'll play now, it shows the Irankunda buzz that there is.
Look, he's a wonderful young talent. He's shown with his red card that he's a kid. His kids are going to make mistakes. There's a long way to go. There was a boy called Graham Cole that went to Newcastle last season, same sort of fanfare. He's now playing in the Dutch on loan, first division, not getting a game, and they're bottom of the league. So it's a tough world over there. I think the great thing is he's going there, he's going to play the rest of the season in the A-League, but yeah, he's a super talent.
How big is this for Adelaide? Because this will be one of the biggest transfers in Australian history, and that £3 million will really help support that club, because we know clubs like Perth Glory and Newcastle, they're struggling.
And yeah, interesting comments there from Robbie and Candace around his move to Bayern, because it's the most, it's the biggest obviously transfer that this country has had. So another player now, the second player, and this is the frustrating one for me is Christian Volpato. Turned down the opportunity to represent Australia at the World Cup. You know, he was in that squad, said no. I feel like it's clear that he doesn't want to represent the country. You know, he's a real talent in the top Italian division, Serie A, and we don't know if he will want to represent Australia, because he can represent Italy, which is a bigger world class team. But this season was pretty frustrating for him. He was injured for part of it. Didn't really play for his club, Sassuolo, is it?
Yep, Sassuolo.
And obviously they got relegated, and we'll play in Serie B next season.
Yeah. Well, it's obviously a frustrating one. I don't really know why he would turn down the opportunity. Obviously, Italy is a bigger nation, but it will be a lot harder for him to crack into that squad. And it honestly feels like we're begging him at this point. We've been asking him for the last 2 years straight, and he's made it clear that he does not want to play for us. So I think we should just let it go with Volpato. He's a quality player, but
I feel like as time will go on, I feel like things will change. He'll probably be playing in Italy's second division. If he can maybe go in that, and have a good season in Serie B. Will that change his mind in wanting to represent Australia? Who knows? But we'll wait to see. He's a real talent coming up, and will be interesting to see on the way to the 2026 World Cup. The last one, Alex Robertson, playing at Portsmouth, got injured. We'll talk about that in a sec. But he already has made his Socceroos debut last year against Ecuador. Played a couple games off the bench, and then went back this season. Played for Portsmouth. Did really well with Cassini Yengi, as we mentioned before. And then he got injured. Was it mid-year?
Yeah.
Couldn't get in the obviously the Socceroos squads. Of course he couldn't, being injured. But he's been on the books. This guy has been around for years for me. I feel like I've known the name for years, just because he's been on the books at Manchester City in their academy.
He hasn't been able to break into the first team, as it's really hard to, obviously, because it's Manchester City, the biggest club in the world. But he's been performing well in the Premier League too. But
what's the next move for Robertson? Do you think he'll get a championship move? League One, and that will probably help him get back into Socceroos contention.
It's an interesting one. I think he's ready for maybe a high level championship team. But that's an interesting one. He could be playing in the Prem within the next couple of years, I think.
Yeah, that'll be the big thing. I feel like you're right on that. Like a high level sort of championship team that will probably get promoted. If he can play, week in, week out.
Yeah. Top six championship side, I reckon.
Or
a playoff contention side.
It'd be good if he can, get into that frame and get in those squads for the Socceroos. But they're the three talents. I feel like they're the three real talents that we should be, probably look at, in terms of stars for Australia. But there's another one that is like Garang Kuol.
He hasn't been
we'll have to
able to crack into the Newcastle team at all.
We'll talk about him in another episode, but it's very frustrating to see what's occurred. But yes. But yes, we're going to get into our sort of last sort of topic. Time's going quick. This is our call to action. The Socceroos journey to the 2026 World Cup. We've now obviously qualified for the third round of World Cup qualifying, which is, teams divided into, groups of 6, and the first 2 of each of those groups, they make the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty easy.
Should be.
To say. What do you reckon? What other players do you reckon should be in the frame to get in those squads in September, October, November?
Yeah.
Farrell, as we probably touched on before.
Farrell. There's quite a lot of A-League talents that could be breaking in. As I said before, Farrell. I reckon, as I also said before, Jovanovic. I reckon a lot of South Australian talents will be playing. It'd
be good to see more South Australian talents as well.
There's most likely going to be a game here, so I reckon
there will too. Yeah.
Arnie will. He likes to select lots of players to play in front of their hometown. Hopefully, it's at Coopers or Adelaide Oval.
I feel like for obviously getting to the World Cup, we'll need some of these players like Matty Ryan, Goodwin, our Irvines to make sure that they're still playing their roles week in, week out, and then make those squads and get us over the line in some games. I mean, I'll call the call to action is that we need to see Irankunda, we need to see Volpato, we need to see Robertson, we need to see some of these talents coming through, and making that that next leap. Getting to the Socceroos squads. Being a star for Australia, for the people here, because that's what we need.
Yeah. We need that youth core, as we touched on before, but we need some of those older talents, those experienced talents, such as Matty Ryan, Jackson Irvine, Aaron Moy.
Absolutely. Well, that wraps up the first episode of the Everything Socceroos podcast. This has been Hudson Knox, along with my guest, Jaden Blake. Jaden, thank you for joining me today. Thank you. We've just done a handshake. But I will see you soon for another episode. Thank you, everyone.